The next thing you're going to want to do is check the song by section and see if you can find loops or create loops that match your reference track song. So right now I already have the chords mapped out, so that's good. So let's see what the next section of the song is. And this is going to be very different depending on what song you pick. This example I picked to be pretty clear though, so this shouldn't be too difficult. I just want to be loved. So in the beginning it's really just piano and vocals, but now we've got some guitar. Okay, so I'm gonna see where that guitar starts. Right there. So you are going to need to know your key for this. I know that this is in F sharp minor. The song seems to be kind of centered around F sharp minor. Let me know if you're having difficulty finding your key. I do have that chord to key chart, but that's also a challenge. So now I've got my key set. I'm going to set my scale to minor. I'm going to look for a guitar riff. And these aren't going to be perfect, but it's going to help us get kind of a tight beat. It's in the style. So let's see what we got here. Not quite like that. That's like the closest I'm finding right now. So I'm going to put that riff in there and let's see what that sounds like. Cool. All right. And since that guitar kind of keeps going, I might actually find like a secondary riff. I feel like that's kind of the closest to what I'm looking for. So now at least I have two patterns that can kind of go back and forth here, just to keep that interesting. So I'm going to keep listening through the song, and I'm just going to see if the guitar just plays the whole song. Okay, so I just went through the song, and that guitar part is pretty much just going in and out through the whole beat. So far as like recreating the beat goes, I've got the chords and I've got a melody riff pattern. That's a really good start, I would say. So you might need to add, synthesizer lines, piano riffs, it just depends on what instruments are used in your song. If you can't find something 100% exact, just get as close as you can. If you go into this trying to like completely remake it exactly how it is, you're not gonna have a good time. At this stage, you want to just get as close as you can. Every time you go through it, you can get more accurate. So the next thing that you'll need to do is bass line. So in this track, I can tell that they're using 808s. And it sounds like the 808 goes through a lot of this song. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to use a scale guide. So this is something else that my students will have access to. So I'm going to do 4-bar pattern, F sharp minor. So I'm going to just import that scale guide into a program. Here we go. This is going to help me just write the pattern. So typically, bass pattern is going to follow the root notes of your chord progression. This is one of those like as a rule kind of things. It's mostly true. Depends on the music. Depends on who's, what they're going for and stuff like that. So I'm going to set the instrument to an 808 bass because I can tell it's an 808 bass. plenty of options for that here. Kind of like that one, personally. So I've got here E, F sharp, E, D, and then D again. So I'm going to click Edit Notes. I'm going to find a good bass register. Cool. Sounds pretty good and bassy down there. So one thing that can be really helpful is just looking at the vertical alignment here. So I'm going to start here with this note, which is F sharp, G flat. If you click and hold, it'll tell you what the name of the note is. So that goes to about, zoom in just a little more, see if we can get the grid on this exact. Seems like it's about there. Then goes to E, which is also a note in my scale guide, and then D at the end there. So let's see what we got so far. That didn't quite work. There we go. I just want to be loved. Cool. So I've got that first phrase all set. I'm just going to move the scale guide so it's not there anymore. And let me see if I can just drop in the scale guide, and we'll see if that. Cool. And it didn't change my patch settings, so that's good. So I'm going to do the same thing over here, just making sure that my bass line follows my chord progression. When you're working on a small section like this, it can be helpful to just loop only that section. I'm going to try that. So that should sound about right. Alright, so I've got that down. I've got my chord progression. I've got the bass line and some melody riffs. So I can just copy and paste this bass line because it's going to follow the chord progression exactly. I was able to copy and paste the chord progression, so this is also going to work throughout the whole song. So I'm going to just play, section of this without the reference track playing. Sounding great so far. So next, I'm gonna save this. Now that I've got kind of the basic, chords, some counter melodies, and bass, I'm gonna focus on the drums. A couple different ways to do this depending on the style that you're using, though. So I know that the drums don't really come in until about here. So I'm just gonna look up some trap drum loops. We'll call it hip hop. One thing that Soundtrap does that is helpful is it splits drum loops into tops and kick and snare. So tops is like hi-hats, snares, claps, kick and snare, kick and snare. So I guess tops would be more like hi-hats and percussion and claps and stuff. So it's a good way to kind of work on layering, because that's a really common tool. So I'm gonna find some good. So I'm gonna use that kick pattern to start off. Generally, I don't put the kick in that position, but I can move things around. So I've got a kick going. Cool. I'm going to add some hi-hats. Got a nice little roll pattern there going. And I'm going to just switch these around. I like to organize my drums by frequency. You don't have to. I do think it's helpful for keeping it organized. So I'd go hi-hat, snare, kick. So I've got a drum track now. So at this point, I could take a listen to this without the reference track and see how I'm doing so far. Sounded pretty good. And I can actually tell by the waveform that this drum track is going to go for most of the song. Looks like it might drop out at a couple different spots. Let's check here. Turn off looping.
Know my age. He was 16, they killed it Dave. Mine in a rage. I'm way too young to feel his pain.
Yep, still there. So this is one spot where the drums actually cut out for a second.
Take this pain away because my head been running wild. I fell in love with
comes back in during the verse. So now we're just gonna map the drums out so it fits the arrangement. So the drums also stop here at the chorus. They come back in kind of the second repeat of the chorus and keep going through. I've got the whole drums mapped out. I'm getting pretty close at this point. One thing that some of you might want to do for this, especially if you're doing something that's like an indie pop kind of rock example, is trying to transcribe the drums yourself. So what I would do for something like that is just make my own drum MIDI track. Set the drum type to the sound that you want and listen to your track and see if you can figure out the pattern. So I know that there's a kick on the first beat. It's a very common kick pattern. Sounds like there's another one about there. Let's hear that. Nice snare drum here. Okay, yeah, right. So I've got, didn't really take me that long to kind of figure that out. Snare drum pattern is pretty consistent. Snare drums are typically on either beat 2 and 4 or on beat 3. So I got that. Just used my ear to find the kick pattern, and then the hi-hat pattern is mostly, an 8th note grid. So not every 16th step, but every other 16th step with a couple of spots for little rolls and stuff like that. So that's the other way you could do your drums. I'm going to just leave it with the soundtrap loops. And now we can finish this. So to finish the track, you're going to want to just listen to it on its own without without your original reference track included. I don't think the bass comes in at the beginning, so just trying to, make sure you catch some details like that. Once you're listening through it the second time, just making sure you're catching any details, like just noticing where, the 808 should start and stop. And then just checking the different sections and making sure it sounds like how you want them to sound. Maybe for my version of this, maybe the hi-hat cuts out in the second verse. Let's just hear what that sounds like. So just kind of giving it a little bit of my own changes and stuff. Maybe I'll have the hi-hat cut out for a second, then come back in. That's pretty common for, patterns like that. Maybe I'll even have the kick drum stop for a little bit too. Just trying to make some decisions, change some things around, be creative with it. The other thing that you can do is, of course, adding effects. So if you want to add any kind of effects on your tracks, or something, if there's a melodic idea that you want to highlight, there's a couple different things you can do that involve duplicating. So I'm going to try that with this Atlantis. I'm going to duplicate this track, and now I have a duplicate version of it. I'm not going to have the duplicate play the whole time. In my version of this song, it's going to come in just in that second verse. So this would be considered parallel processing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something with the copy to make it a little different. I think I might add some delay. Just going to make it sound a little bit more full in that section. So I play it from here. Let me just turn off looping. So you can hear my original guitar track. It's pretty straightforward. Right here you'll hear my parallel processed. So it adds just like a little bit more body to it, just, you know, subtle changes. But this is really, you know, part of what makes music interesting is the little details like that. So yeah, I think that would be it for me. And now I've got my whole type beat here. You know, as I mentioned before, you can go into more detail every time you do one of these. Just try to get it even more accurate, get those chord progressions more accurate with the rhythm, you know, creating more accurate instrument patterns, finding more accurate loops, all those things. You can just keep going and keep going. There's really no end to how detailed you can get with these. But I'm hoping this would just get everyone, you know, who's never made a beat based off a reference track before, just started with this process, so you can start learning about music that you're interested in a really rich way. So that's all I got. You know, just let me know if anyone has any questions, and hopefully this made sense. And yeah, good luck. Thanks.